You're listening to the Hunt Stealth Podcast. I'm your host, Ryan Uffens. Enjoy the show. It's been crazy to see how this thing's kind of just started to pop off.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's been fun. So I appreciate you, Mike, taking the time to come on the podcast. So I've been looking, you've got like quite the background aside from like your frozen baths you take every stinking morning.
Yeah. I've done, I'm 51, so been around a hot
You're
minute.
51?
Yeah. Yep.
No way.
Yeah, I am.
Yeah. Time's been good to you.
Well, so far. So, some days you don't feel like it as much, but yeah, generally I'm probably doing pretty good. I can chase the grandkids around and wear them out.
How many you got?
So that's good. I've got 3 and 1 will be born in about a month. So, or less even.
Oh, dude.
Yeah.
Congrats,
yes,
man. That's
thank
a ton
you.
of fun.
Yeah. 1 grandson.
I've got
and
two.
2
I got 2 little granddaughters myself.
Nice. Well, you look
And
young
it's like
too,
the
so
best.
you're doing something right.
I'm 46.
Okay.
I mean, I started young, but
well, that's okay.
yeah.
Cool.
My wife's always told me, like, why are you so immature?
Ah,
And I'm like, it keeps me young. It keeps me young.
I always say you knew who I was when you picked me up, although I picked her up. But whatever. Yeah, same diff, right?
Yeah, but she says, she's like, yeah, but I didn't know better back then.
Right. Yeah. I got married. I was 21 also, so not. It's fairly young by today's standards. Yeah. But yeah, my wife was 20 when we got married. So yeah,
I beat you by 2 years. We were 19.
Nice. Okay, there you go. Yeah. The whole thing is different than you. I didn't grow up in a hunting family. Like my dad would go on a deer hunt, on the weekend. And I've told this story a ton of times on other podcasts, but it's like, I think I was probably 18 when I realized that the hunting season lasted longer than Saturday on the opener, like for deer. Like I had no idea. I didn't know you could still hunt because we never went after that. It was like Friday night camp over, get up, my dad had sent us up the hill, go kick him out for me. I'll wait here at the bottom. I know he's down there taking a nap or whatever, but he just did it because my mom's brothers did, my grandpa did, but I just didn't really, have he died when I was actually just 13. So pretty young. He was 45 of a heart attack. So yeah, pretty kind of crazy. And I never had anyone to mentor me in that way, but it's all I wanted to do. I loved it so much. When I turned 8, it's all I wanted to do is go. In fact, I asked for my birthday. I turned 8 October 28th, and my dad would, we couldn't go out on the hunt until we were, old enough supposedly. But I said for my birthday, I want to go on the deer hunt. That's all I want. It was like all I wanted to do. So anyway, it's always been in my bones. But yeah.
And but it's been more recently that you've like gotten really into it.
Yeah. I've always been pretty into it. I fell in love with archery in probably 2014, 2015 time period. That was, I had been even bow hunting for a few years, but it was more, I was in a dedicated hunter program here in Utah where we did, there's a lot of states that let you do it, but Utah never did.
But you're in Utah?
Yeah.
Yeah,
I was going to come up and record with you guys, but your guy, what's his name? It's D something.
Dustin.
Dustin was saying that you're working on the studio or something, and so I said, "Oh, that's cool."
Yeah. So we're here. I've got a space here with Black Flag.
Okay, and nice. You're in Kaysville then, probably, right?
Kaysville. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. Exactly.
Okay.
And
I'm just an hour south of you.
Studio. So. Well, once we get it done, we'll have to have you come up. I'm going to start doing some co-hosting with Brian Call.
I love Brian.
And so once that studio's done, dude, let's have you come up and we'll sit down and we can hammer out a couple of them.
Yeah, it'll be fun. We could talk about all kinds of different things, but yeah, sometimes in an hour or so, it's hard to cover much, but so.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing that we've done. I feel like where we've had some success is like when I'm like, if I'm going to do this, I'm like, okay, who's the most successful guy on the planet at podcasting? And I'm like, it's Joe Rogan.
Gritty. Well, that's
right?
true. Yeah. Gritty's pretty good at it too,
Yeah.
though. But yeah.
Gritty's really good. He's really good,
Yeah.
but I'm not an expert. And so I
Mm,
bring on people that are experts or have a passion for it and a love and just like a great
yeah.
story to tell. And I'm like,
Sure.
tell me. And we inevitably I always end up learning so much that, like I feel like this year, I've said this on multiple podcasts over the past probably 2 months. Like I feel like my knowledge level, just talking about it multiple times a week with
Mm.
people,
Oh
like
yeah. Yeah.
my
Second
skill
nature for
level,
you.
my
Yeah.
knowledge level has grown. I'm like, oh, all these little things that I had recalled happening the past 4 years that's led
Yeah.
to unsuccess. I'm like, oh, like this is how this thing is supposed to work. So,
Yeah. Yeah.
so tell me about some of your businesses that you're an entrepreneur, husband, father,
Yeah.
um, hunting, just badass. Like for the folks that maybe don't know, by the way, I think
I was
I've been
going to
recording. We'll go
record
back.
now. And stuff. I see you're recording, but I don't know what, like, I don't know when it starts and
Yeah, I'll go
stops,
back
but
and figure out some place to start it.
yeah.
But yeah.
Okay.
Anyway, tell the folks a little bit about just like your background and I mean, we've talked a little bit about the hunting side, but tell me about some of the businesses that you're involved in.
Yeah. So as a young adult, I mean, basically, when I was 18 years old, my girlfriend's father, her dad, kept trying to get me to come work on his construction framing crew. And I was working at a baseball card shop, like part time, hitting the gym every day, just living the bachelor life as a teenager. Just need enough money to take my girlfriend out on dates, and I loved. I was really really into baseball, and so again, just wasn't loved hunting and the outdoors and all that. My whole life, but I finally decided, yeah, I'll go try it. I'll go try framing for a little while. So I went and worked for him for a few months, and eventually I went on an LDS mission, went to Thailand for 2 years, and so I went and did that, and I just loved the construction. I was kind of excited to get back to it. So I got home on like I think it was a Thursday night, and I had told my girlfriend's father at the time, who's now my father-in-law, because we ended up getting married. But I had told him, well, I need a couple weeks to kind of settle in, and I'm going to go to school in the fall, so I got to get all that going. And anyway, give me a couple weeks, and then I'll come and help you. And like the next Monday morning, I was already working for him, and that was it. Like I just never looked back. So I got really into the construction thing. Excuse me. I was a construction and a business management major at Utah Valley University. I think it was UVSC at the time, it was a state college, and I did that for actually I didn't quite get my degree. I went for about 3.5 years, and by the time I was about done with school, I had quit working for my father-in-law because he got slow, and I went to work for another builder. And finally I thought, man, I can do this. Like, I can do it better than these guys are doing it. And a lot of my bosses didn't love talking to people or working with the people. It was kind of funny. They were ornery about people and didn't want to deal with people. And I'm like, this is a people business, So, and I love people. So I kind of approached business from that standpoint, and then just try to learn everything I could. So I started a construction company, and I did that for almost a decade. Built a lot of homes, did a lot of framing, and then eventually the economy got rough, and really really tough times, and got lean in the construction side of things. So I
Like, was that
transitioned.
on 08?
This was actually when mine first really, when it started to get a little tough, it was actually 9/11. We started sending
Oh,
plywood and materials over to Halliburton in Iraq, and our prices went up like 800% in 3 months on like plywood. I mean, it was bad. And so,
I
I had a lot of,
remember. I remember
yeah.
that time.
So rough,
You used to
rough.
be able to
I
go in and
mean,
buy like buy like a 4x8 sheet of
yeah,
plywood, and it was like $4, and then it
yeah,
seemed like
yep.
overnight it went to like 14.
Yeah. So, and even got worse than that. I mean, I was buying probably, I think it was, $5-6 a sheet at the time, and it went up to $32 in 3 months. So anyway,
Mm.
I had 36 homes going at the time, and I had to provide lumber on all of it. It was a rough time. And so, just decided to shut that down and transitioned into, I was doing real estate and development stuff. And so I got into that. I ended up getting a real estate license. And at that same time, one of my best friends who used to work for my construction company, and he had one going too, had this idea to invent or write software on Palm Pilots to let the guys clock in and out on the job sites. So we really invented a mobile time clock. There was nothing anywhere. Like, we never heard of one. Nobody invented it yet. And we just came out with it and started, partner with a couple of software guys, and we built that business for about 20 years actually. And so we actually sold it a couple of years ago, and I was with them until the end of last year, and just transitioned out. And so I
Good for you,
sold
man.
to construction
Congrats.
for that whole time. Yeah, thank you. And we, had millions of users all over the world. Even, I mean, I went to Australia and Canada and all kinds of places. We had customers everywhere.
Wow.
But it was a fun. We went through the technology boom. We were on Palm Pilots that were disconnected. Bluetooth wasn't invented. There was no such thing as Wi-Fi, and so we were really early. Then BlackBerry came out, and that just changed the game, the connectivity, and mobile communication. And of course, iPhone and Android came, and that just really was a really green field for us. So we just focused on construction because that's what we knew. And so I've been chasing. In fact, I got a text about 5 minutes ago from one of my customers down in the Dallas area, like a 1,200 employee concrete company. He's like, "Hey, I need to get another demo of WorkMax." That it was our company product was called WorkMax, and so I just texted the sales guy there. And, how's it going? Haven't talked to you in a while, but just kind of a past life. But how that parlays into now is like every blue collar guy out there, which a lot of I'm still pretty blue collar myself, but just in a different way now. I had to really make opportunities to get out on hunts, and so I had a phenomenal, my best year ever last year, but it was also the first year that I really didn't have other obligations that were keeping me from like finishing out my hunts. And like, you kind of figure, you're a little newer to it. And I heard you talking with Brian Barney, a good friend of mine also. That was a great episode.
Thank you.
Guys like Brian, he's just it's just all second nature to him. Like, he's just a freaking hard drive of intel and information. He's as good as it gets at being stealthy and out there with his bow only. And so, when you have to go back because you got trade shows or a demo or you got meetings, and you can't stay those extra couple days, like, you just spent a week and you figured it all out, and you kind of have things dialed in and you kind of know what to do. And then if you have to leave before you can seal the deal and get it done, not only do you miss that opportunity and that experience and that fulfillment and the reward and everything else, but it's like, you got to start over because, the next hunt, if it's next season or if it's different unit or if it's different species, you're starting over. And so that days in the field, but days in the field in a condensed period of time, that's how you're going to find consistent success over time. And you're going to find shortcuts and things that, not shortcuts like lazy, but like more efficient ways of doing things that'll help you. The e-scouting and preseason scouting, the reading tracks, learning about sign, studying on Google Maps or Onyx and Go Hunt, all these Gaia, all these online maps. Mark Livesay teaches amazing courses on that, and I've taken a bunch of them. And it all just kind of helps. But at the end of the day, you've got to be out there. Like, you have to. I know Brian Barney said, you want to kill an elk, you got to find where the elk are. And so
Yeah.
it's really hard to do in long weekends or bonsai trips. And even last year, which I'm fairly successful generally at knowing a lot of this stuff, been doing a while. But I had a really good deer tag and a really good elk tag in Utah, and I was like, and in the past, I'd be like hopscotching back and forth. I'm looking for I see these, I'm going to chase them. Oh, dang, that didn't work out. Blew them out. Oh, now I got to find the deer again. And so I just decided I'm not going anywhere. I'm not doing anything until I kill this buck that I want to kill. And so it took me 12 days. And the deer that I killed, we saw the afternoon before the opener in a perfect spot. And I ended up killing him about 400 yards up the hill from where he was 12 days later. But every single day when we tried to go find him and had help and other guys, um, we couldn't find that buck. And so I was hunting other deer, getting reps in with other deer, trying to stalk in on other deer while we were waiting for this buck to show. And I found a pretty good one that I decided I was going to shoot. And, just a really cool buck, double cheaters. We called him Cheeto because he had like a 5-inch cheater just straight out one side and it was all velveted up. And it looked like a giant Cheeto hanging out the side of his rack. And he had another cheater on this side. Really cool deer, but he was a mainframe 3x4. So it wasn't like exactly what I was hoping for, but he had so much character, and he was the biggest deer I'd seen at that point, other than this buck I killed, but we couldn't turn him back up. So we just kept grinding and grinding and grinding and grind. I mean, whatever it took. And finally, the buck that I had 3 stalks in on this Cheeto buck. I got 42 yards from him, totally had him. He didn't know I was there. I was there for like 10 minutes and he was behind this brush. And I hunt with Grim Reaper carnivores. And I usually will have one fixed blade, which is a really good tip for guys. One fixed blade arrow in there, also with broadhead. So if I got to shoot through, sagebrush or if for some reason I feel like this is going to probably work out, I feel good about this, but, I may have to go through some weeds or something to get to this buck. But I didn't happen to have my fixed blade in the quiver at the time. So with those, expandables, I'm just not shooting through that brush. I'm not going to wound that deer. I don't want to blow him out here. So anyway, finally the wind switches, as happens a lot, and they took off. And that was my 3rd stalk in on him. And the other ones, got messed up by a coyote one time, got messed up by some other deer that got kicked up from 2 basins over by somebody else. And just crazy stuff where you do all the work, you do it all right, and these external circumstances really just jack you up on your hunt. So I'm like, okay, well, I'm just going to keep after it. And so after that buck blew out, he went into an area where there was kind of some private, in the middle of this public. And he was kind of holing up in there. And so we're like, all right, we're going to go find our number 1 buck. And so we call them stickers because he's got a couple of cheaters on both sides. And anyway, we drove 26 miles of dirt road. I went on a side by side, and my brother and a guy that was helping us. I have a nephew that's an outfitter, Lone Tree Outfitters, and he had one of his guys out there helping me. And so they went all the way around up one basin, and I went all the way around up the other. And I did a hike in the dark, and I hiked about 2,000 feet of gain, about a mile and a half in I think it was about
And
45
what time of year
minutes.
was this?
This was in September. This was on September
Okay.
September 2nd, I think, or 1st. It's like,
Okay.
yeah, I think 1st. Yeah. So it was hot, but
Okay.
the bucks were just starting to strip their velvet. The bulls were all, a lot of them were stripped off. But anyway, this deer, we go up where we thought he was up and over the ridge from where we had seen him the last time. And we thought, I bet he's just rolled over that hill. So we decided to just go. So we got up at like 4 a.m, drove clear around. I hiked up, I was like 45 minutes. I was huffing at full pack. It was so freaking steep. And I just, went as fast as I could, trying to get up there before first light so that I could start glassing those basins on the other side from where we'd been hunting.
Mm-hmm.
We hadn't been there all season on this other side. Well, finally and I'm radioing and I can't get anybody. And finally I get a text that actually comes through, and they said, we found him. But he rolled over the other side. So back to where he'd been before and where he'd been hunting the whole time. He rolled up and over this giant mountain. And I'm just like, oh my, I'm so gassed. But they're like, get back to the buggy and get around. We'll meet you there. So I'm literally like 100 yards from the peak, and just like, frick. Okay.
And this is where a lot of like the mindset stuff, right, yeah, Mike, that like we talked about. I mean, all the guys that are super successful, it's like that mindset, and just from following you, like you're a total like positive dude. Like you just like, you put good vibes out into the universe. And so, but with that being said, I guarantee you, like I saw it like in your face. You're like, hey, he rolled back over the other side. And you're like, oh, I just like hiked
kind of
45
defeat for a
minutes
moment. Yeah.
up
And
here.
I was hauling, but yeah, so I was
And
just
you were
gassed.
moving, so wasn't just like a stroll up the
No
side. Like you were going
lollygagging.
up there
No,
with
it was
intent.
with
Yeah,
intent and aggression. I was hiking. I was
hiking to kill.
yeah. Well, my friend, one of my other friends, Wayne Endicott, owns a bow rack up in Oregon. Just such an amazing man, just a great friend. Wayne always talks about
You
how
you
it's.
drop him like he's like just like nobody.
No,
I mean, you're
well,
talking about Wayne
yeah,
Endicott,
that's
man.
right. Yeah, the herd bull. Yeah, I mean most
Anyway,
people know him. Yeah, but Wayne
yeah.
is always he talks about hunting angry, and it mean you're just a little chippy. You're a little pissed. Like I'm going to kill this buck. I'm going to get him, and that's how I was hiking, because I'm like, I'm going to find that
That's
buck.
so interesting, and I think, and I apologize for interrupting you, Mike, but I think that is great advice, and it's interesting because we had talked a little bit about me coaching baseball, right?
Yeah.
And I would tell my kids sometimes, I'd be like, hey, like swing angry, like go up there and try and hurt that ball.
Yep.
And that's like, I'm surprised I haven't had that realization myself to like hunt angry, right?
Yeah.
Like, because you do when I teach my kids, I mean, I grew up playing ball in that too. Like I would swing angry. Sometimes you just like close your eyes, clench the cheeks, and just turn on it, see what happens.
I'm the same.
But but anyway, yeah. So anyway, I apologize. But so you get up there and you're hunting angry and you're going up with this intent, and this stinking buck decides like he's like, watch this. I'm gonna go back over where I was. What was your mindset? I mean, again, the frustration. And you were probably going to get to it, but anyway, I went on a tangent, interrupted you, so I'll just let you pick back up where you are.
Yeah, no. So again, which we've all been. I'm not talking road rage angry, right? I'm not talking like really just
right,
ineffective, wasted energy, right? That's even maybe ludicrous and stupid, because you make mistakes when you're being an idiot. When you're mad. I'm so mad at you, like that's not what it is.
Yeah. No, I don't think that's what.
And determination.
It's like Jordan Peterson talks about, like have a monster. You have to want to have a monster inside of you, but you got to be able to control him.
Yep, that's exactly right.
And so sometimes, like when you let that monster loose, like you do things that your body might not think is possible.
Right. Oh, for sure.
But you don't want to just go like complete rage, right? I get it. Yeah. I get it.
It's adrenaline. It's grit. It's and I don't. A lot of guys will know what we're talking about. I think probably everybody does for one reason or another. But when I'm hunting, like that's like I love the camaraderie. I love the people. I love all. I just came back from Rivets. I was at a bear camp, and I love the social. I love the guys that I was with. The two of my friends, and I helped recommend they come. We all joined in this camp together. It was amazing. But I have a bear tag in my pocket. I want to go kill a bear. So I don't want to. I didn't want to go sit and just shoot arrows, like I could do that at home. I do that at home. I didn't go to Alberta, Canada to shoot my bow. I went to kill a bear.
Yeah.
And last year I went and got a bear, a good bear. This year was a little bit better even, but my son went with me last year. It was his first bow kill. He killed a giant 7'4" color phase. It was amazing. Such a great experience. But it was the same thing then. There were other guys that, they went walleye fishing because the walleye fishing opened, like, they went earlier in the day. The bear hunting, we wouldn't go out till late afternoon. And I'm just like, I love fishing. I love walleye fishing. But I'm hunting bear. I don't care about walleye. Like my brain doesn't even want to think about fish at all. I don't want to pollute my mind with anything but delivering a perfectly, executed arrow.
So you get hyper focused on the job at task, whereas a guy like me who has ADHD would be like, "Hey, yeah, maybe let's go try the walleye fishing for a minute."
I think I have some of that.
But you do.
I channel it, right? I channel it to the thing.
Well, yeah, that's where the Adderall kicks in for me. Once I take that puts me in like locked in mode, and then I can't think about anything else.
Yeah.
And I hate that's something about me that I have to deal with, but But I
Yeah,
think sometimes for me, like when I've gotten up on the mountain, like I didn't grow. I mean, I grew up in the outdoors, like going to the lake,
sure.
skiing. I mean, played baseball. I mean, we didn't really camp, but I get out there and I look at the beauty of it. And I think for the first little bit, like I was just happy to be out there. If I stumbled across something, great.
Bonus.
But
Yeah.
now it's like, now I'm like, I definitely have a different mindset. I mean, even the preparation that I put into preparing for this year is entirely different than it has been previously.
Yeah, it's just progression. You're
So,
ready for more. You went from kindergarten, now you're ready, and when you get to junior high, you're looking to high school. You don't want to go back, so it's like you just got to
yeah,
keep.
I'm not even that far. I'm just getting the training wheels taken off right
You're
now.
just in preschool right now, so
Yeah.
that well, it's an
Yeah.
exciting time. I mean, if not, I'm grateful for what I had, but if someone's going to find it now and in their 40s or whatever, like that, I call it adult onset type 2 fun, where you really find this now. um you've got all the tools in the world that none of us that have been doing it for 30, 40 years ever even had, or we just didn't have it. There's no
Yeah.
YouTube, there's no technology. It's like if your uncle would tell you a couple secrets, like you feel like you cashed in and like you're going to just kill everything this
It's like,
next year because you now learned
yeah.
this thing that he took 30 years to learn himself. So it's a little different time, but back
So,
to, oh, go ahead.
that's what I was going to say. Like I said, with my ADHD, I go off on tangents, and I apologize. I do it to other people. But back to the mountain, you got radioed in. Bucks rolled back over to the other side. You're like, you got to be kidding me. They're saying, get back down, and I'll let you take it from there.
So I ran down the mountain. I ran. Didn't roll. I'm pretty good. I trail run a lot, so I love. My wife gets so mad when I take her trail running, and sometimes because the trail that I go on it's nasty. I mean, it's so bad. It's hard to get a 4-wheeler up it around. It gets, I can't run the whole thing. I have to hike fast, and then run when I can until I just can't, and then I hike and then I pick it up and run again. And but it's just so rocky and uneven. And so this, I'm running down this steep mountain with my pack on and I have my bow in my hand. I mean, I'm doing the whole thing, and I just ran as fast as I could. I get to my side by side and I'm booking it. I mean, I'm topping it out at 60 plus on these dirt roads. I mean, just, it took me 24 minutes to get all the way back around. And it was probably, as a crow flies, it was probably only 2 miles away from where I'd hiked to where I was going, but it was like 26 miles of dirt road. So they beat me by like 10 minutes. By the time I get to the spot where we'd been glassing him before, they had just picked him up. They barely picked him up like a minute before I got there, right before he bedded down. And it would have been tough to pick him out had they not been there when they were there. And so it's like, man.
Hmm.
So we found him, and he's at the top of this thing. And I've hunted deer there a couple of other years, and I know this mountain. I know some of the trees they like to bed in. I knew where to go and how to get up there. And so anyway, we made a plan. And once they bedded in their first bed, I said, well, it's going to take me an hour and a half to get up there. So I'm just going to start going. We left my brother with the radio, and then the other guy, Heston, was hiking up with me. We ended up splitting up eventually and just trying to turn up these bucks. Well, he ended up being in a group with 4 other bucks, and then there was a doe with them. And so while I'm 3/4 of the way up to the vantage point to the top, kind of where it looked like they might be heading, um, the 4 deer, the 4 other bucks and the doe go rolling up the hill from where they had been bedded. And my brother couldn't, he never saw this biggest buck that was kind of the lead buck. He never saw him leave, but he was just in a place where he just couldn't see him. It's like, oh, he had to have gone with them, had to have slipped out with them. So and they were in a spot where he just didn't have the vantage to see into it. He'd see them if they went out, but he couldn't see right where they were at the time. So we spent, by this time it was probably, I think it was 9:30 in the morning, and we started at 4. It's 9:30 in the morning. We've already done all this, and now we've got them turned up, and I'm hiking up in on them. So we end up going up this thing. We get clear up to the top, very, very top. There's like this cliff ledge, and I'm literally like creeping up over the cliff. I don't even want to skyline my head, but I like to stick my eyes over in my glass, and I'm trying to pick these deer up. Finally, I find, and the other guy did, and my brother ended up seeing him. So we all have these deer pinned, and we can see where they're at. And we start looking through and finding them bedded and finding each one. Well, we don't see this biggest buck. We're just like, where did that sucker go? Did he stay back? Did he leave out early? We just didn't know. So again, there was a pretty good, really, really nice mainframe 4 that I'd kind of passed up a few days earlier. A young deer, probably only 4, but probably like 180-inch buck, like a very, very awesome genes, but a little thinner horn, just not, a young face. Great deer, but that I was really looking to kill something a little older and a little more unique, if I could, and so I wasn't going to go after him again. And so I thought, well, we just got to turn this other buck up. So we sat there and baked in the sun. I had no coverage. I mean, I had a little cliff ledge that I kind of, hid in while the sun was beating on us, for a little bit. But generally, I'm just baking in the sun. And it wasn't till about 4:30 p.m. finally, this other group of deer gets up and kind of starts moseying up the basin and up towards where we had been the day before, going back up, or the morning earlier, just back up over where they had rolled over from, and still couldn't turn this big buck up. Well, when we had seen him before, he was in full velvet, and some of these other deer were still in velvet. They hadn't rubbed yet. Some of them had. So it's like, I really wanted to kill a velvet buck, but if he doesn't have velvet, then I'm just, going to shoot what he is. Right. So we ended up, just glassing, watching. About 6:30 p.m. I can see a deer's body down in this cut. And the craziest part about it was that deer was only 400 yards away from me, and he'd been there the whole time that I was there. And so had I gotten lax, gotten lazy, gotten talky, gotten chatty, got hanging out, if I'd exposed myself, if I'd made noise, if I wasn't creeping and really, really being as stealthy as I could, I'm probably going to blow that deer out, or at least he's going to know I'm there, and it's going to change things up. So I can't see his antlers yet, and all of a sudden I see the deer get up, and he's kind of moving down, and it's a steep cut. It's probably like 6 or 7 feet deep. It's just a place where runoff has just cut into the mountain, and he's down at the bottom of this thing. So he's covered in shade, and I'm lucky to even see him moving through there. So finally he comes back up a little higher, and he ends up bedding again. And I pick my glass up, and I'm trying to pick something out, and I see silhouetted on either side of this sagebrush these red antlers. So he literally had just barely, he was like bloody scraped, just that morning.
Just pulled the velvet off.
What we figure is he got up ahead of those deer to go shed his velvet, because they get real agitated. I don't know if you've watched that much, or it's really fun to watch and film and to see, but they just get, it's like if you get something that's just itching really bad, you just can't scratch it enough. And that's how they act. They just get feverish about getting that velvet off. And so we figure he must have gotten up to rub his velvet off and then just moseyed up ahead. And so he just wasn't with the other group. So this became a great blessing, because the other deer got up, and where he was bedded, he couldn't even see him, wouldn't hurt him. He was kind of sheltered in this little cut. They got up and went up and over the ridge. So now they're out of the game, and I don't have to worry about, 10 or 12 eyes and ears and noses, 6 noses. And so now I've got my buck, and he's only 400 yards away. So anyway, we end up deciding on the radios, like, okay, I'm just going to sit here and wait. There's a high chance he's going to go up the cut. And I was probably 100 yards laterally away from the ridge line, and maybe another 200 yards this way, and I'd be right where he's going to go through the pinch point. He's probably going to go up and over if he goes that way. And I figured I could probably be within like 3 minutes. I could be there with my bow and ready to go, from where I was sitting. So I'm like, okay, I got time to figure out what he's really doing. So I thought he might just go straight back downhill and feed to where we saw him the day before the opener too. That's where he was bedded the last time. So we waited. Well, about maybe 7 o'clock, he gets up, starts feeding around. He's going up the hill. And so we're trying to decide, and I'm like, I got time. I'm not going to rush anything. I'm not going to go commit to this other area and then have to go turn back around. So I just waited. And finally, after maybe 20 yards of going up the hill, all of a sudden he kind of turns sideways towards me, and I got a great view of him, and we got eyes on him, and he doesn't know we're there. And all of a sudden he starts turning back around and going downhill. So the guy Heston that was helping me, he hiked clear back around to meet where I was watching from. He's on the other side of the basin, maybe 300-400 yards away, looking the opposite way. And I had him come down around the backside and get in the spot where I was to have a great vantage point. And I said, I'm going to run down this other side. It was a very steep, so where I was looking up and over, very steep. So I could go down here maybe 20 yards and make any noise I wanted, and he's never going to hear me down here either. So I could be a little more, a little more rushed and not have to try and be so sneaky. So, I went appropriately down quickly, just fast stepped it all the way back down. And I basically said, let's pick a couple of cedar trees. I marked them on Onyx. I thought, okay, if I get to this, he's probably going to come through there. Maybe I get a little higher. So we kind of picked 2 or 3 trees. I pinned those, and I just ran down the backside of that mountain until I got ahead of him. And then I just snuck up slowly to try and meet him and cut him off where he was coming in. And eventually it worked out. I mean, he was, I moved trees like 3 times because I just kept saying, look, I'm not, he could take forever to get down here. Who even knows? I'm not going to waste the opportunity. So as long as he knows I'm not, or doesn't know that I'm here, I'm just going to keep sneaking a little bit closer and just make sure I don't, expose myself. So I did finally got up to the last cedar tree that I had any cover on, and where I thought he was headed. And my buddy, radios me and says, hey, he's all right. He's coming. And I still couldn't see him yet. And all of a sudden I see his back, and his head's kind of swaying. He's eating as he's feeding. And I ranged it, and the tree was 51 yards that he just came out from behind. Basically he was about 51 yards away when he exposed himself. And I almost got up to draw, and I'm just down on one knee, and I'm in front of the bush, not behind. That's another mistake I've made so many times. Don't hide behind a bush and wait for him to come around and not see you and whack him. You hide in front of the bush. That's why you have camo on. That's why you try and play the wind. That's why you're going to sit still and wait for the right moment. And so I was in front of the bush, so nothing was blocking me. And eventually he came and, kind of looked up, and I thought, oh man, he's going to see me. He kind of looked my way. It took like 2 minutes to really feel like he was actually going to keep coming. So finally he puts his head back down and takes a couple more steps. So I radioed my guy. I said, hey, I'm going to draw on him, and I'm just going to smoke him. And so I'm on one knee, I draw back, and he's coming, and then he stops with like full frontal. Like, he's not broadside. He's not where I don't want to shoot him, frontal at 51 yards or 50 yards by then. And so, this is actually really funny. So, a couple years ago, we did, Elk Shape has this, December Chub Challenge or whatever. And he did this where you draw and then let down and, shoot a target for like 3 feet away, like 5 times, and had just these series of reps. And it's like, oh, that's a good, that's cool. Okay. So I kind of practiced that. And then another thing I added to my practice is sometimes I'll just sit and see how long I can hold, and then let off like a shot that I feel good about, and how, and, I'm shooting 80, it's twisted up. It's like 84 pounds. Like, it's, it's pretty much all you can shoot. I have a 31.5-inch draw length, so pretty long arrows, smoking. But, these new Hoyts, I mean, I had an RX8 then, I have an RX9 now, which is even better. But, they're pretty forgiving for the power that they have. So I just sat there, and I think it was 2.5 to 3 minutes, I figured. I was holding a full draw and aiming and just on him. And, but maybe a minute into this, I'm like, oh my gosh. And I thought, well, this is why I practice it. So I literally said in a whisper to myself, I can do this all day, buddy. Just come when you're ready. That's what I said. And, 2.5 or so minutes in, he took a couple more steps. He turns just a little bit this way, starts kind of quartering to, and
Opened
then
up.
almost broadside enough. And I'm like, punk, smoked him. He went about 50 yards total, but he died 35 yards away from where I shot him at. He kind of went around and died right down below me, one arrow. I've never heard this before, but I literally heard his lung deflate, and then his back leg, as he was going to run off, like he couldn't use it. It was like froze. And what had happened is I got him in the lungs, and the little bit of the angle, it caught a little bit of the back, back quarter, and it just, paralyzed that. He just couldn't use it. And anyway, he died in less than 10 seconds, was just deader than dead. And so I went up to go look for my arrow. I waited for a few minutes I'm like, oh yeah, I forgot this. So when he quarters down and he's only 35 yards away, I already had a range because I'd ranged those bushes, and there was kind of a little runoff creek that was in the bottom there, and he ended up stopping, and I'm like, I had another arrow on him. I could have smoked him, and I just getting ready to let go, and then all of a sudden he starts kind of teetering a little bit, and then he just fell over sideways, like almost feet up, kind of dead. And
is this him?
That's him. That's the buck.
Yeah,
that's the buck.
It's a good looking buck, man.
Thank you. Yeah,
that's
he's
wild.
cool.
A lot of work.
Yeah, and it was just so fun to, just the journey of that, and then realizing again for just not many times. Now I haven't always had the luxury, job wise, of keeping, taking extra days. I mean, that's my brother there, and just I'm there with the back straps in camp, and really, yeah, yep,
yeah,
just
awesome.
Such a great memory. But when I look back through, there's Heston that was helping us, and there's the shot carnivore. Instagram didn't like that one for a while. They jacked me on that post for a while, but I didn't take it down. I just left it, and it's still there now. So that's good. But yeah, that you think back to all those things, and it's like, the other buck that I could have shot almost and just didn't never quite worked out. And after every one of those moments where it's like, I don't know why it didn't work out. Like I put so much effort in. I tried to care for the right reasons. I wasn't hunting inches or, trophy that way. Just what really gets me excited and revved up, and what would be a great way to end this hunt. And this was the buck, and, 12 days of chasing other deer and glassing, and, early mornings and late nights and all the miles. And it was like, 100 degrees and hot and dusty and all the crap. This is a high mountain desert in Utah. And, I loved all of it. Like I had joy on the journey. I was happy while I was doing it. I was never miserable, because I know, like, this is what I want. I want it to be hard. I don't want it to be harder than it has to be, but like, the hard's good. It's good to struggle and to earn it and work for it, because it's so much more rewarding when you do. And this kind of symbolizes, again, just the 50 other hunts I've been on that didn't work out that way, or that you end up shooting something different than you hoped, or you never really got a chance, or you left early. Or last year I had 2 tags I never hunted on. So that's the other thing that I wanted to share is I'm learning it more and more. It's hard to learn, but like, I put in for all these states and and then last year I drew all this stuff, and it was like, oh my gosh, I'm like bouncing here and going from here and going to there. And, I'm hitting 3 days in Idaho, and then I'm going over to Colorado, and then I'm hitting, I had a North Dakota antelope hunt, which was so fun. And it was amazing. Archery only. I didn't end up getting a buck. I, got in on 2 amazing bucks the last day before we were leaving. And just didn't work out. But like, I sit and look at the miles and the time and the effort, and I thought, I would have been way better served to focus a little harder on like 4 or 5 hunts than like 8, and like, and get one done, and then, don't stack it so deep that you just can't commit the time and the effort and the energy, and that you're just hoping on some extra luck, or, to cash in on something that, you just happen to have fall in your lap. Once in a while it happens, but I just would rather not plan on that and be all in on what I'm in on now, and not leave before I can get it done. Because it's just, it's heartache and headache, and it's expensive, and you're just kind of chasing your tail. So I'm really trying to focus more on hunting, the best units I can get in, hunting on really good tags when I can. I do DIY stuff too. When I over the counter, when I don't have a tag here in Utah that I draw, or can get my hands on, I do all that too. So, it's really about being committed to the experience you want, and then doing everything to make sure that you allow that to happen. And in the past, you talk about the ADD stuff. Like sometimes I do, like, it's like I'm hoarding tags, like the tag's not, that's not, that's not what you're after. Like, I want to notch that, and I want to have a great animal to hang it on. And I want to love and enjoy that Traeger smoked meat and share it with my family, and, just enjoy everything about, and have beautiful taxidermy to sit and look at in my basement. And so I think,
Mm.
just being more intentional. And so when I'm hunting angry, it's like, well, I could do something about it. You can be angry and then never get anything, and then you're angry because you didn't get anything. But I want to be angry, like, I'm going to get this buck. I'm going to figure out how to, wait for him to slip up, and I'm going to be here when he does. But if you're running around,
Yeah.
hunting 18 different things, like, it's just really it's like the walleye fishing during a bear hunt. Like, I'm never going to do that if I have a tag still, like, ever.
Yeah. Yeah, it's I mean, it's nice. I think you look at a lot of the guys that are able to go out and, like, I mean, hunt year round. I mean, it's what they do for a living. They create their films, they create their content,
Mm-hmm.
and I think that's awesome, and it's something to be great to aspire to, when the time's right. I mean, if you're at an age and you're younger and that's what you want to do, like, get after it. Go
Yeah.
see what you can build for yourself.
Right.
But there's also, like, I mean, I've got a full-time job.
Mm-hmm.
I this hunting podcast is something I do out of passion, and
Sure.
it's been a ton of fun. And like you said, like, I love people, getting to meet them and hear their stories and what makes them tick and what's led them to success, themselves, both professionally, and in the field. But there comes a point where, I mean, yes, you can apply for tags, but if you can't make things work, um, the tag is nice, but if you can't go out and hunt it, it's like, what's the point? I mean, you could potentially, and I'm not knocking you or anybody else,
Yeah.
but if you don't use it, you could potentially be taking it away from somebody else.
That's true. That's true.
Depending on if it's like a limited draw area,
Mm-hmm.
or something like that. But it's like, we were going to try and go up with Ty Eubank, and a couple of us were going to go do a bear hunt this summer, but it was like a bit of a stretch to try. Well, summer feels like summer. It's
Yeah.
so bloody
Yeah.
hot here
Springs
lately.
are hot.
But yeah, we were going to go do a spring bear hunt, up in Idaho, but it just didn't feel like it. Felt like it was going to be forced, and I'm like, I want to be able to go up there with the people that I want to go with, and, like, just enjoy ourselves and be able to do that, because it would have been the first time I've ever been a bear hunt, and,
Mm-hmm.
he felt very confident that he would help us, fill the tag that we were able to go get. And I mean, anybody can go get that tag. It's not
Yeah.
like, it's hard, but the time commitment, you want to be able to go and enjoy it and not have the distraction, like, oh crap, like, I got to get back to work. Like,
Mm-hmm.
we've got, when we were going to go, it just, there's too many moving pieces, and it's like, don't force it, and you should do it for you. Like, if you want to go by yourself and do a solo hunt, like, go do it. But what we were talking about doing, we wanted to go up there and kind of have that experience of,
Mm-hmm.
like, camp and be with people and be able to go out and do some of those other things. it's like with Dustin and Quinn, and Jackson and I, um, Quinn put in for one unit, said he had like a 99% draw odd, and we kind of built our hunts around, hey, we're going to go help him harvest this bull, right?
Yeah.
And he didn't draw out. Like,
Okay.
it's like, oh yeah, great. But as a backup plan in that same area, I'm like, well, hey, I'm going to put in for a buck, because if we go down and we stumble across something, like, I'll take a buck down there. Well, I did draw out. Both my son and I drew out for that same unit that he was wanting to get for a buck. So we're gonna go down there and do some scouting and get ready, and we're gonna look for buck. But I think there's gonna be some, still looking at it as an opportunity to learn and be like, okay, where are the elk down here? While we're down there, kind of do a twofer, because it's likely the next year he should be able to get it.
Yeah.
So
Well, and
I
that,
don't
yeah,
know,
and
but just hunt with intention, hunt with a purpose.
yeah, and you talk about learning, and that's another thing too. Like I learn every year new thing, like totally new things. Like I see things I haven't seen. I experience something a little differently. I learn the hard way a lot of times. Sometimes I have to relearn things, which that's when it sucks. When you're like, "Gosh dang it, I totally know better than that. What do why did I do that again?" Or whatever it is. But part of I think that fulfillment and like really deciding what you want out of this hunt, what your real goal is, and early on, and I wasn't really good at this as a younger bow hunter. Like I passed up a lot of animals like 20, 30 yards away that didn't know I'm there. But it's like, well, I don't want to shoot that little 3 point, or I should have shot a few of those early and got like figured it out, like if they're going to jump the string, or like you can get experiences while you're doing it. And you know it's almost like I think people sometimes get the tendency to um like they're giving themselves street cred or like a pat on the back because, oh yeah, I had three chances but I passed them up, and like they feel good about that, and like that's an accomplishment, and it is to a degree. But if you don't have some reps under your belt where you've done that, and then you quartered the deer or the elk out and you had to cut it up and you had to pack it out, and if you go years without filling tags, like you're going to forget how to do some of those things, and you're going to learn the hard way, and then you're going to just it's just best to get those reps early. I mean, I know, I was listening to the podcast you had with Brian Barney, and he was talking about, shooting does down in the hay fields, and, just getting reps, shooting an animal with an arrow and executing that shot, and, getting those experiences so that when you have the buck or bull of your dreams, or when you have a giant bear, you're not learning on that first huge opportunity where it's like, this is a buck or bull of a lifetime and I just missed it, or I cracked a stick, or I've learned that, like when I'm archery hunting, and anywhere I'm stalking in, like I'll pick up stuff off the ground, I'll move it around, I'll get rid of the sticks, I'll try and make it quieter anywhere I'm going to be, and just avoid those things from happening that can happen to draw the attention to you when you're not ready to. So just things that you would only learn by doing and experiencing firsthand, versus never learning any of it until now it's go time, and this is like your first time really going all the way through the process, right?
Mm, yeah. Yeah. That's what I've said. Like this year, if it's legal, I'm going to drop it. I mean,
Cool.
I don't even,
Yeah.
I tell myself, and I've always kind of had that like mindset going into it, but yeah, if it's a legal buck or
If it's brown, it's
bull
down.
or doe or cow,
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly,
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah.
Like as long as what I'm shooting at is legal, and I'm not going to lose my license and get fined and impounded, like I'm going to drop it, because I just want to have that experience like you had talked about,
Mm-hmm.
of just being able to like pack it up, quarter it, pack it up, haul it out, and be able to go back and throw the stuff on the Traeger and try your own different recipes. I mean, it's great. People have been good about like, hey, I want to get you some meat. And I'm like, thanks. And I appreciate it. I
Yeah.
do. but like there is something to you being able
Your
to
own.
provide that for yourself and for your
Mhm.
family.
Yeah.
And, it helps you to be able to grow as an individual, and it allows you to adapt your different techniques. And it changes. I think it changes who we are. I mean, just as a society, like we talked about, just, the ADHD, right? We're constantly being pulled different directions, trying to do different things. And it can wear on you, and being able to get out there in the outdoors, you get that reset. And then if you're, and I've been very grateful for the opportunities that I've had out in the field, even though I've been unsuccessful,
Hmm. Yeah.
because it's just been like a mental cleansing period I've been able to go through. But I can't imagine what it's going to be like when you come back with some meat thrown in the freezer. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
And
Like,
it's not.
it makes you feel kind of like that primal, like, Ugh.
That's it, baby. Yeah, and it isn't really, and you said, haven't been successful, and I know it's real, fashionable to say, oh no, you were successful because you got out there, and there are degrees of those progression steps that everybody has to go through. Like there's no
Sure.
shortcut. Like you have to do it. And me memorizing, the elk nut, Paul Medell's, all of his different elk calling scenarios, and like it's not a pop quiz in high school. Like it doesn't, like, knowing the answer is, that's just the first part of it. Like you got to be able to execute on it and know when. And the only way you do that is
Yeah.
by getting those experiences. And we didn't all have dads that were able to really take us or teach us, right? I mean, I had to be
Hmm.
self-taught. And I try and teach, have taught my children. None of them are really into hunting that much. I mean, my son went on that bear hunt with me last year, had the time of his life. It was amazing. Killed a way bigger bear than me and anyone else in our camp. And it was really, really cool and awesome. And he'd probably love to do it again, but he's not dreaming about it at night. He's not like when this is why we started the Primal performance supplements is fitness and health and being ready, right? Being mountain ready. Like there is no off season. We train year round. We're not training for just hunting. That's what I want to spend my energy on when I have free time for me. But like we're training for life. Like people always, oh, what do you train for marathons? Like, always, like I'm training for life. It's not about this event or that event. The hunt gives me an excuse for me to formulate in my brain why. And it is true, that's what I'm pursuing to, back to, like you said, this, like our Primal Pursuits podcast, it's about getting back to being primal. Like what is the core of your essence? Like what are you really after? What are you trying to accomplish, and how are you going to go about that? And when you get all the garbage, removed from the conversation, you really get down to that nucleus, that core of what you want to represent, what you hope to achieve. It's back to these main things, like be determined, like be decisive, be on purpose. And the more you do that and you practice doing it, just like hunting, the more you kill animals, the better you get killing animals. The more you shoot your bow, the better you are at shooting your bow. And so, um, finding out what those things are that you're passionate about and that you're interested in and that you really care about, and then pursuing those as far as you can and learning all you can to be the best you can at those things. That's where all of a sudden life is happening and you're having these growth moments, and you find opportunities to apply what I learned in archery to life and to those problems. Or, we talked about the cold plunging. Like I've just never had a bad day after a cold plunge, because and it's not that I haven't had some tough things happen during the day, but it's like there's not very much. I mean, yeah, if I got in like a car accident or something, it'd be horrible. Like that's not better. But like generally speaking, day to day life, most of what I'm going to do is not going to be harder than sitting in that 39, 40-degree water for 10 minutes, and just get over it, right? Like just grin and
Yeah.
bear it.
As you just, you're exactly right. In life, generally speaking, if you force yourself to do things that are hard, not that, like the ice baths, right? Like I've heard them talk about that. Like if you like doing the ice baths, it's not building that inner
Mm, yeah, yeah,
drive or that ability to be able to cope. If it's something that everyone else thinks is miserable but you like it,
Yeah.
it doesn't build that muscle that gives you the resiliency to cope with difficult things. But as you do those things, I hate them. I
Yep.
hate them.
Yep.
I don't like
Yep.
them. I do them occasionally. I'll do like a cold shower. The cold showers don't even really work anymore. It's getting so hot that even like just the cold shower water is not that cold.
Yeah.
But you do those things, and when like life happens to you, you're able to deal with it better because your body doesn't. It's fight or flight. It learns to deal with what's happening in the moment without kind of pushing you over the edge, and you can just roll with the things that life throws your way.
Yeah. Well, not even
So,
just the process of, and it's wisdom, right? Wisdom is basically the proper or best application of the knowledge that you have. Like knowing something and then doing something about it and applying it correctly. That's two different, totally different things. And it's the application
mm,
of that knowledge at the right time and in the right way that's that person's wise. Like they get it. And I think you evolve to a place where in life you none of us are perfect. We all are complete idiots sometimes. Like one day to the next, you can do something just so stupid that just doesn't even, you're like, why'd I even do that? Or what, what, it doesn't make sense to me right now because now I'm thinking about it in retrospect. It's like, I was stupid. But generally, I think
mm,
you can avoid those foot traps that are, people out in society might have a real problem avoiding because they're not challenging themselves. They're not learning. I'm in charge. I'm in control. And even if I can't control everything around me, I can make better choices to put myself in a position where more good things can happen and less bad can happen. And then all of a sudden, it's the old phrase of, the harder I work, the luckier I get. And eventually, and then when you have a struggle, you're like, that's how it goes sometimes. And you meet it head on
yeah.
and you're able to overcome it without, all the drama of, another favorite quote, life is 10% experiences and 90% how we react to them. And I believe that's
Mm,
definitely the case.
yeah. Well, Mike, hey, I think it's great wisdom that you shared, and I mean, it's just some great hunting advice as well. As we wrap up here, any last words of wisdom you'd want to share with the folks that are listening?
Yeah. I mean, I think back to, we took cold plunging or an ice bath is one example. You know, put a weighted backpack on your back when you mow your lawn and get a workout in while you're pushing the mower around, or throw a weighted vest on, or hike up a hill, do something that pushes you to be a little bit more resilient, something that's not comfortable, something that when somebody says, "Why are you doing that? That's crazy," that should be a giant flag, a giant green flag for you, unless it's just downright crazy. But like that should be the go time. Like that's perfect. If someone thinks it's crazy or
Mm,
why would I do something like that, you might be onto something. Maybe you're doing something that's actually really good, because if you want to be better, if you want to be the top 1%, like you got to do the things that everybody else isn't doing. And so what can I do to put myself in a difficult situation and then value stack, just like putting a pack on when you're mowing lawn. If I got to mow lawn anyway, I might as well get a workout in while I'm doing it, right? Like if I'm going to
mm,
do this thing, what can I do to make it just a little bit harder? What can I do to make it a little more difficult? And pretty soon you'll find your comfort zone will continue to move. And as long as I talked about Dan Staten with elk shape before. I did a couple of his elk shape camps a couple of years ago, and he kept telling me, he's like, you're fit, you're this, you're driven, but he's like, I don't care about what you love doing or what you're good at doing. Like, I will find your weakness. Like, that's what I like to do with people when I'm training them. I like to help find their weakness, because we all love doing stuff that we're good at and that we feel confident in and that we feel good about. But why don't you focus on something you suck at so you don't suck anymore, right? Like, so that's the thing. It's like find something where you feel deficient or like you wish you were better at and put some time into it. It doesn't have to be physical. It doesn't, it could be anything. Something that is scary to you, like lean into it, try and figure out how to have confidence in it and get better at it. And then you'll learn, oh, wow, this worked with that. It could work with something else too. And just keep finding those little mountains to conquer so that your life is elevated and you can live a more fulfilling existence. That's what most people out there are looking for. And a lot of them aren't ever going to find it because they are too comfortable.
Got to step outside your comfort zone. It makes you resilient in a lot more ways in different aspects of just your entire life, which is what your whole point of what you've been talking about. Yeah. So no, I think that's great advice, Mike. Really appreciate it. Hey guys, as we wrap up, make sure go give Mike a follow. It's on Instagram. It's Mike T. Merrill. Is that correct?
Yeah, Michael T. Merrill, but yeah, same thing.
Michael T. Merrill. Sorry, yeah. Michael T. Merrill. Yeah, Michael T. Merrill. And then, yeah, check out their Primal Pursuits podcast. Give that a listen and follow. And again, guys, really appreciate the support that we have on our podcast. It's great to see the growth that we're having. We are the fastest growing hunting podcast in the nation right now. Still don't know if that's true or not, but I'm going to say it.
I was going to say, it sounds pretty good to me.
I guess, yeah, what you put out into the universe becomes reality, right? So thank you for listening. Give him a follow. If you guys learned anything from this that you think could help somebody help someone become a better hunter or just like better in all aspects of their life, please share it. Text them the podcast link. Share it with them on Instagram, whatever it is. But really appreciate everyone's support. And Mike, thanks for joining us, and everyone stay safe and God bless.
Thank you. Get Primal.